Hey guys, what we'll be doing today is changing the seat belt on a 2012 Nissan Altima. The procedure is the same from from 2007 to 2012, and on most of all Nissans 2000 up and below, really, every seat belt change is about the same. But on this one, we happen to have a 2012 Nissan Altima. And changing the seatbelts is actually pretty simple, whether the car was in an accident or stuck, or you know, sometimes they lock up, but most commonly in an accident. So since this one locked up in an accident, we had to cut it with a blade to take the pressure off. You can take it out like that, but it's harder, so I usually cut it with a blade to take the pressure off. And it's really just three main bolts. You have one right here at the top, usually 12 to 14. You have one behind this panel, which I'll show you how to pop off. It's a 10mm bolt, and one right here. This one is either 10 or 12. So first thing you're gonna do is get a flathead screwdriver and use that to pop the covers off. Okay, so you have one right here. You don't want to damage it too bad, so you just pop around it, and it usually pops right off. Just pop around it, and it usually pops right off. It's not usually too much to it. Just pops right off for the most part. Let me see. Usually get behind it right here. There you go, and it popped off. So you got this little panel piece to the side, cover piece. Go ahead and put that one to the side. And then this screw looks like a 13 to 14. So we're gonna check here and I'll let you know. Let's try 13 on there. 13. Okay, so this one is a 14. Okay, so let's go ahead and get your ratchet or your drill, whichever one you'll be using today. And let's go ahead and get that one off. Okay, so once you get your 14, you got your 14 socket and wrench or drill, whichever you prefer, and you take this bolt out right here. Go ahead and use two hands to pop that off. Okay, so once you break your nut, this one right here, once you break it, you can keep twisting it back and forth, or what I find easier, just pop the socket off itself, and you can hand loosen it right now. Okay, so once you take that out, this piece will drop right here. And then you look around the side, these rubber pieces, it's usually easier if you go ahead and pull those back. If you can't, you can get around it, but it's easier if you go ahead and pull those rubbers right here back, right around here and around the side. Because this panel right here will pop up. That one, it just pops right up as well. And then this one right here pops also. This one right here just pops right off. Right there, just pops right off. Same thing, you gotta take this part of the rubber off. Or at least it's easier if you take this part off. Usually just wiggles right off. This part off. And then you can pop this panel up, or you can just get this one. But usually it's easier to pop both of them up. The panel just pops right up. There you go. And this panel pops right off basically. Pull this part up. And this one pops right off. And then that's it on that end. You go ahead. And then you got this bolt right here in the top, 10mm. This one right here at the top, which is a 10mm. You can use your ratchet, or you can use your drill, whichever one you have with you. In this instance, I have my ratchet right here. We're gonna use our 10mm. And I'm gonna go ahead and set the phone down and break it one time. Once you do it that one time, go ahead, it loosens on out, and you can keep going back and forth, or you can just go ahead and hand loosen it. Once you go ahead and take that out, it's one more at the bottom right here. It should be a 14. So you have this one at the top in the beginning, you pop your cover off, and this is a 14. Then you have one right here at the top, it's a 10. At the bottom, it's a 14. This is behind the panel. And then after you take those out, you have one more right here. I believe it's a 14 as well. You can pop that off. Yeah, so it's easier with one hand, but you just pop that off and you have a 14 here, 14 here, one at the top. So you have three 14s and a 10. go ahead and this 14 right here, it's easier to break it with 2 hands. We'll try to get it with 1 or else you'll strip it. It's better just use 2 so you don't risk stripping it. And once you loosen it that one time, you can pretty much take it off with your hand now. That yellow clip right there, those are they're not fragile, but you have to take your time popping them off because you don't want to break them. Because if you break a piece of it off, it'll stick off in there and it'll be hard to dig it back out. Lift up on it. Once you take that bolt out, just lift up on it and it slides right out of place. So I'm gonna set the phone down to get this clip out. But easiest way, take a small flathead, try to pop it off this side right here, pop this side off. I'll show you how it works once I take this one out. Just try to stick a little flathead under right here, wiggle it up, and right here, wiggle it up as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that with my flathead, and then I'll show you how it works. There we go. So what I did was I used my flathead and I popped this side up. Once this side pops up, you can just leave it sitting there, or you can pull it all the way out, but then that comes right off. So now you have your old seat belt out, all except for this one bolt right here. It's the same on driver's side and passenger side. Once you pop that one off, you have this one right here. I'm gonna go ahead and break it with 1 hand. Break it with 2 hands. Well, this one was pretty loose, so we got it with 1 hand. And then you can basically loosen it, with your fingers from there. So it's basically the same procedure going right back on. Go ahead and finish loosening it. There you go. So then what you do is you get your new seat belt, which I have with me, and I'll install as well. Show you how to install. Let's see. Okay, so when you get your new ones, usually they'll be a little tight like this, and what you have to do is you have to ground it first. And what I mean by grounding is you put this bottom bolt right here, this top bolt, and then it'll go ahead and loosen up. So here's our seat belt here. That's our connector where the yellow plug will go, and then once you put it in, you just push that pin down. So as you can see, it's tight now. It doesn't want to move. Once I put it back in and I put that bottom bolt and this top bolt here, it'll loosen right up. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll show you. Okay, so I have mine sitting in there, not grounded yet, but you can hand tighten the 10 first or the 14, either one. You go ahead and hand tighten it right up. Also, as I forgot to mention in the beginning of the video, it's better to take the battery off first, usually, especially with airbags. Usually dealing with seat belts, you're okay, but it's better to be safe so that way it doesn't lock back up on you again, because sometimes you have to go ahead and take the battery off, so once you put it back on, it can reset itself. But we got the bottom one nice and tight, so I'm gonna go ahead and tighten this top one. And then once you have both of them tight, you play with it a little bit and it'll loosen right up. There you go. And it loosens right up. So then you can, at this point, you can go ahead and get your panel, and you want to put this one, you want to go ahead and slide it in place behind the panel so you can put it in this hole, because it's easier to put it behind the panel first and then go ahead and lock it in this hole. So we're going to get our panel now, put that part back on. Also, don't forget to go ahead, take your clip and pop that one back in. Take it, and then that just locks it right in. You're good to go. So the panel, the bottom part of this panel is gonna slide under there, and then this clip is gonna pop right in right here. Same thing on this side, it'll slide under that panel, and then this clip will pop right in there. So I'll go ahead and do that real quick, and then we'll come back. Right, so the reason I said it's easier to do that first is because once you go ahead and lock this part in place, let's go ahead, let's see. Once you lock this part in place, then it's harder to go ahead and put the, there you go. See, now you already have your panel on, so you can pop this piece up and tighten it up right here. But we're gonna go ahead and put our, you can, what else right here? Your seat belt will come back up, slide in through here, and then you go ahead and finish popping your panel up, and then you'll screw it in right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish popping the panel up, and then we'll go ahead and start tightening it back on there. Tighten it back. Once you do that, I mean, once you put the panel back on, once you put the panel in place, it basically just, everything pops back on. You gotta pop your clip right here, pop this one right here, and then you put your rubber pieces back on. You go ahead and put your rubber pieces back on there. Right here. There you go, this side back on, nice and tight. You wanna go ahead, make sure all your pieces are locked in over here. Make sure this part is popped in. It's in there good. You wanna go ahead and make sure this is nice and tight on there. It'll pop in place. And then you wanna go ahead and put your rubbers back on each side. Pop it right off in there. Make sure it's lined up right. There you go. As long as everything's lined up right, it's just slide back in place. So you have a nice firm panel on there, nice and tight. And then you're gonna go ahead and tighten this one back on. This one is a 14 millimeter again. So I'm gonna go ahead and start this one with my hand, and then I'll tighten it up all the way with the ratchet. Go, so you can go ahead and just take your socket and hand tighten it, and then just go back over it again with the ratchet. Make sure it's in there all the way. So now that one is in there, we'll go ahead and use our ratchet to tighten it all the way. Make sure you're going the right way there. So now you got that part tight. Go ahead and put all your clips back on. You got this one right here, the first one you took out, and then the other one which popped out a few seconds ago. We got that one here as well. Now this one I'm going to show you, sometimes it does come off. It's harder to put back on, but it's still simple. You have those on each side, these two. It's, you know, for adjusting the seatbelt really. You have one right here on this side, one on this side. Now when this one does come off, let's see. It slides on like this, but you have to get you have to pull the two pieces forward, and they're supposed to go behind those two right here. What do you call it? Those two slots right here. So those, you can pull it forward with a flathead, and then just slide it right in here. It's for adjusting the seatbelt. So let's go ahead and get our flathead and try to lock them in there. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to record it at the same time. It's actually because you have to pull them forward, you just put the flathead behind right there, and you can pull them forward easily. But because they have to slide in place, it's easier to put that part back on when this one is off. So you pop this one back off. It's easier for that one to go on first, actually. So let's go ahead and get the other one back out. Okay. And what we'll do is we'll go ahead and pull them forward with a flathead, and then we'll go ahead and lock them in. There you go. So once you go ahead and slide those silver pieces back behind it in the slot, you can adjust it properly. You go ahead and pop your other cover right back on there, just like this. There you go. And then don't forget, now it's fully adjustable. And then you have that one last screw and cover right here. So we're gonna go ahead and start this one on it. The cover you can put on at any time. So we'll go ahead and start our 14 millimeter bolt by hand, and then we'll go ahead and tighten it up with the ratchet. So then you just pop this cover on. So it's basically those 4 bolts. 14 right here. You got 14 right here, and behind it you have a 10 at the top and a 14 at the bottom. There you go.